How's it going, everybody? Alongside TJ Calkins, Jay Sannon here with ATS, getting you ready for UFC Vegas 50. TJ, a card you have quite a bit of action on. And of course, before we get to our main event, which is Ankalaev and Santos, let's get to some of the other fights you have plays on this card. We'll start out with Azamat Murzakanov taking on Tayfon Chukwi. Murzakanov making his UFC debut, a minus 180 favorite.
Yeah, I think this debut actually plays right into his hands. It's going to work out great for him. He's got very, very real power in both hands, and he usually has to kind of chase opponents down, try to work his way inside. Well, this fight's going to play out actually perfectly for him. Chukwi likes to press forward. He's going to be the longer fighter, but he's going to give up that reach because he presses forward. He wants to get to the clinch. And that's a big thing for him. And as he does that, he's going to eat power shots. And I truly think a knockout is going to come here. But the inside the distance line on Murzakanov is only at plus 120. So I'm actually just more comfortable laying the minus 180, seeing as Chukwi's never been finished.
Now, TJ, I want to get your thoughts on Damon Jackson and Kamwela Kirk. Real tight odds on both sides here. Jackson coming in at minus 110. What do you think happens here?
Yeah, I was surprised to see this as a pick'em fight. And I like Kirk. I think he's got something of a future here in the UFC. But I don't think this matchup's going to play out well for him. He's a good striker. He's a good grappler. But if there's a problem he's got, it's wrestling. We saw Amirkhani take him down 5 times in his debut. He was able to win that fight. But he gets another grappler, but a different type of grappler here in Damon Jackson. He's not as good of a wrestler as Amirkhani is, but he's far better in the BJJ game. And he's more relentless. He just makes sure his fights get to the ground. He doesn't mind if he ends up in bottom position. He's just happy to grapple. So Jackson is not going to win the striking portions of this fight, but I think the striking portions of this fight are going to be fairly brief. I think we're going to see Jackson get the fight he wants. He's going to get the grappling fight, and a submission is possible. But at pick'em, I just like Jackson at minus 110, and I'm happy to play him flat.
Now, TJ, I want to get your thoughts on the women's side here. Jillian Robertson, a slight favorite at minus 130, taking on JJ Aldridge.
Yeah, this is a striker versus grappler matchup. So Aldridge is going to be the better striker. You know, she doesn't have otherworldly power by any means, but she's going to be a better striker, and she's going to clearly be better on the feet than Robertson. But that's almost always the case in Robertson's fights. You know, once she gets the fight down, she gets top position. She knows how to advance. She knows how to control. She knows how to hunt submissions. And somehow Aldridge, with all of her UFC fights, kind of avoided grapplers for the most part. And I think this is going to be a newer test for her, and I think she's going to fail. I think Robertson gets a submission, but I am just going to stick with playing her flat at minus 30.
Now, TJ, the first fight on the main card is Alex Pereira taking on Bruno Silva. Fireworks expected, to say the least. The fight minus 700 to end inside the distance. What do you see in this one?
I see it ending inside the distance, inside the first round. So we've seen Silva come in the UFC. He's got three fights, 3 knockouts, 3 wins. But the last fight against Jordan Wright, that one was a little bit dicey. Wright landed heavy on him early, and Silva was hurt. He was in trouble. And if Wright was anything resembling a durable fighter, I think he would have got him out of there. Now, Pereira, he's a huge step up. I mean, this man is an absolute world-class striker. He's knocked out the current champion, Israel Adesanya, in kickboxing, and he's going to have success in MMA. So I think we're going to see him come out and knock out Silva in the first minute. I don't think this is going to be close. So the odds makers kind of see it the same way, the ITD line minus 150 versus the minus 180 flat line. I just don't see the value in pushing for that. I'll keep decision in the range of outcomes for those 30 points. So give me Pereira minus 180.
Next up, TJ, Carl Roberson taking on Khalil Roundtree. Roberson, a slight favorite at minus 130.
Yeah, Roundtree, we know what he is. He's a heavy-handed power striker, and he's a knockout or bust fighter. He's pretty terrible grappler. So Robertson has actually had issues grappling. All 4 of his UFC losses have come via submission, but they've come via submission against high-end grapplers. So he's actually going to welcome a guy trying to knock his head off instead of a guy trying to take him down. And Robertson's never been knocked out. I think he's a technically tighter striker than Roundtree, but he's going to have a big grappling advantage here. And of Robertson's wins, he has 2 submission wins in the UFC. So I think there's going to be a path of little resistance just going ahead and shooting takedowns on Roundtree. And I think he can have success. And I think the move to the Glory MMA gym is just going to help in that aspect. So give me Robertson with the striking and grappling paths to victory at minus 130.
TJ Sadiq Yusuff is a minus 245 favorite, taking on a fighter with a 5-fight win streak under his belt in Alex Caceres. What do you see happening here?
I mean, Bruce Leroy is still one of the best nicknames in MMA for Alex Caceres, but that's where his advantages in this fight end. This one is almost laughable that Caceres, he notches 5 wins, which I'm not taking anything away from him, but now he gets a fight with a guy that is just totally levels above him. I know Yusuff didn't get the decision call in his last fight against Arnold Allen, but I thought he beat him. I didn't think it was going to be particularly close. I was very surprised by the scorecards. And anything Caceres tries to do is going to hurt him doing. I mean, the counters are going to come heavy, and I think an early knockout is the most probable outcome. But Caceres can be durable, so even if that doesn't happen, I think Yusuff runs away with it on the scorecards. Minus 245 isn't a price I'm usually eager to pay, but I'm pretty eager to pay it in this spot. It's truly a mismatch.
TJ, in the bantamweight division, we have Song Yadong, a minus 250 favorite, taking on Marlon Moraes. Do you see Yadong getting it done as the favorite here?
Yeah, man, we saw Marlon Moraes kind of have that quick rise, and then he fought Cejudo and lost. His follow-up fight there was against Jose Aldo, and I thought it was a very tight fight, but there are a lot of people out there that thought it was a robbery that Moraes got the decision win there. That's one I wasn't so mad at. But since then, he's had 3 fights. He's been knocked out 3 times. His chin, frankly, looks absolutely shot. His cardio is never there. So he's going to have maybe a 1 to 2 minute window to take Song Yadong down and ground and pound him out. I don't think there's a grappling advantage where he could find a submission. So he's basically going to have to get it done before the gas tank empties, and that's going to be sooner than later. I think Yadong puts a pace on him. The cardio gives out. The chin gives out. Yadong's going to knock him out inside the distance, minus 120.
Now, TJ, an interesting main event here as Magomed Ankalaev takes on Maheda Santos. Ankalaev, a heavy favorite at minus 585. How do you approach a fight like this with such a heavy favorite in the main event?
I think it's pretty wild, man. I mean, I agree. Ankalaev is great. He probably should be favored. Not even probably. He should be favored in this fight. Maheda has not looked great in the last 2 fights, but those fights were both against rangier fighters. He did win that last fight against Johnny Walker, but Walker was doing a great job with deep to leg kicks, keeping the fight at range where Walker could use his length as an advantage. Maheda finally figured it out. He wasn't his normal explosive self, but he was still throwing power. And if we go back 3 fights ago, he was submitted by Glover Teixeira, but he had Glover hurt bad and literally 1 ground and pound shot away from staying unconscious. You know, Glover does this thing where he just goes unconscious for a second and then wakes up and grabs a back. And I mean, he truly is one of a kind in that aspect. So what we're gonna see here, Ankalaev is great. I mean, his striking is fantastic, his wrestling is fantastic. He has power. He's not the biggest light heavyweight, and he's not as rangy as these guys. I think Maheda's gonna have an easier way pushing his way inside. I think he's going to stripe that lead leg. Ankalaev has had trouble defending leg kicks. It hasn't been a problem yet, but if Maheda is kicking that leg, it's going to be a problem. So what we're going to have is a closer fight than the odds makers have it, but we're going to get action. It's going to be a banger. Somebody's going to go out, and it's only minus 140 for this fight to end inside the distance. I just don't see how it makes 25 minutes. So give me the fight to end inside the distance. I think call it a night.
TJ, thank you for your expertise as always. UFC Vegas 50 this weekend. Of course, for more from TJ on all of these fights, be sure to check out ATS.io. For TJ Calkins, this is Jay San and saying, see you next time. Good luck on your UFC bets over the weekend.